Hey everyone, I thought I would just give more of a raw breakdown video today on how to get from 5K a month to 15, 20, $25,000 months. I am by no means at 50, 100K yet. I'm getting there slowly, but I've been consistently able to generate five figures, if not multiple five figures a month all year now. And I did so starting at 5K like just, 6 to 8 months ago, which is not too long ago in the grand scheme of things. We're already 4 months into the year, right? This by far, 5K a month is probably one of the worst positions to be in. Or not worst positions, but both painful positions to be in for a few reasons. One is it's possible. So money, you can make money online. You're just not making enough. It's almost like a tease, right? It's like you're only making 5K a month, and I know you want to make 10K a month, right? So it's possible all over the place. Things are all over the place, right? You don't know exactly where your next lead's coming from. You got a client, you're super happy, but you don't know how to get the next one, or you don't know how to get results as systemized as you want to. And the last thing is you just don't know what to do sometimes. Lack of info or lack of game plan, I should say. A lot of you guys have the information, you don't have the game plan on exactly how to do it. So I'm going to cover sort of the business side of things, economic side of things, and also like productivity as you are the founder and how to get to these bigger months. Because I'm telling you, you're only like 1 or 2 tweaks away to get to a $15,000 a month or a $20,000 a month. If you want proof on how I've been able to do that, you can check out all my other videos. You could see proof of Stripe screenshots and all this other stuff. I literally just turned on this camera because a lot of people struggle with it, and I get the same questions every day, and I want to just go over a few things that have really helped me. All right, so again, 5K a month is pretty painful to be in. I'm just going to show you how to get ideally to 10K a month, which is five figures a month, hopefully multiple five figures a month. Let's get into the very first lesson, which is pick your customers wisely. Now, I can't stress enough how important this is. What I mean by pick your customers wisely is choose who you want to work with. All right, and you're going to choose who you want to work with based off of a few criteria. So I'll just actually list this out here. All right, one is results you can drive. I would say two is money, or I would say TAM. Three is how much to charge. Four is ease of marketing. All right, now again, this is insanely important. When a lot of people start, they just, and me included, you just target whoever will make you money, which is not the most viable way because without knowing it, some of your current clients are dragging you down. Like, for example, if one of your clients is taking, 10 hours to fulfill, let's just go, this is a bad client. It takes 10 hours for you to get them a result, right? If that's how long it takes, if you could figure out how to get three clients, right? If you get three other clients, so this is one client, it takes 10 hours to get a result. If you can find a way to get three clients and it takes you 3 hours each to get a result, you've essentially done the same amount of work, but for three people, and you've gotten them the same results. All right. And then you could charge 3 times more. You can make 3 times the amount of money, etc. All right. So some of your clients, without you guys even knowing it, are crushing your ability to scale your business and make more money because you don't know what you don't know. So if your client again is taking a lot of your time, but you just don't have anything to compare it to, then you don't know. So try to find clients that are aligned with you based on a few principles here. All right. Let's go over here. So a few principles would be one is alignment on your offer. This means how much do they need your offer? How painful is that? Is there situation to the offer you could add to them? So if people are struggling with lead gen, then of course, if you're solving lead gen, it's going to be, they'd be pretty aligned with your solution, right? Sometimes, like for example, what I sell is AI content solutions. So a lot of people don't need content. A lot of people are surviving without content. So sometimes we'll get some people that aren't aligned with content. When they're not aligned, they're not going to take our system seriously. They're going to invest, and then they're going to be a headache because they realize they don't really need it, and they're not going to be bought in. So make sure they're super aligned, and the pain you're solving is deep. So they have to use your service, and they have to be bought in, right? Sometimes you realize that clients, as much as they pay you, sometimes they're not as interactive with you because you're not solving a massive pain point. So make sure they are aligned with what you're solving for them. All right. Sounds silly, but sometimes people still will pay you and then they'll be a pain to deal with because they're not really aligned with what you're selling. Two is that ideally, they're speaking the same lingo or they're in the same range as you business wise. So actually what I'll say for this, because that's sort of hard to grasp, what I mean by the second point, which is like, familiarity, is sometimes if you're working in the AI space like I am, hopefully I spelled that right. If you're working in the AI space like I am, I'll just mention this soon. So if you're in the business space, or if you're in the AI space, I should say, sometimes if you sell highly technical things to non-technical people, it's insanely hard to work with them. All right. So we have two clients right now. One is somewhat older. One is somewhat younger. One is in the AI tech space. One is in a whole nother sort of self-development space. It is much harder to work with a self-development older person than it is to work with a young tech founder, because this guy speaks the same lingo. He's very familiar with what I do. So when he uses our softwares, when he goes through our protocols, it's just familiar. All right. So work with people ideally are familiar. When you're in a beginning level, sometimes it's hard. Ideally, you want to make everything familiar. So we're trying to work with our SaaS and internal tool that we sell to make it as familiar as possible to every single person. Sometimes it's not possible. All right. It's just hard. All right. Which again, that client that is older and that is in another self-development space, that's going to take 20 hours of time compared to this other person that's going to take 4 hours. So we can work with 5 amount of 4-hour people and one 20-hour person. Right. So I can make this much more money. That's why choosing that person is so important. And then finally, levels. So this is basically the level of business that they're in. This is super obvious, but if someone's in the beginning of their career in business and someone is, higher up, HU, this person is going to be so much easier to work with because they understand business, they understand how it works, they understand what they're making. All right. So another way to sort of visualize this, if this person's making $5K a month, I don't know why I put $2 in. If they're making $5K a month and this person is making $50K a month, this person will be so much easier to work with. It'll be so much easier to work with. And they're like, it's not too much harder to sell this person than it is this person, which is a whole nother story for another video. But if you're working with people at a lower business level, expect more questions. Expect a longer time to fulfill. Expect more of a headache, in my opinion. Now, not all people are like this, but again, a lot of people are up here. They know the game. They just want your service to be done, and they understand deliverables and stuff like that. All right, so make sure you are picking your customers wisely based on the results you could drive. Okay, make sure they're aligned with what you're selling. Make sure they're familiar with how to use your stuff, and make sure you're working with someone that's at a similar level. Next is TAM. TAM is basically saying like, hopefully there's a lot of your business. So I'm not going to cover that one. TAM is total addressable market. So if you're selling to people that are making $50,000 a month with their pottery business, that might be like 100 people, or let's say 1,000 people in your country. If you're working with, realtors that want to make an extra $5,000 a month, you're working with probably 100,000 people because there's a lot of realtors and a lot of them aren't making that much money. All right. So just pick your TAM wisely, or pick your customers wisely based on TAM. Next is how much to charge. Make sure that you could charge a lot of money. This is sort of sometimes inverse to the TAM. So if there's a small TAM of pottery people making, $50,000 a month or whatever I just said, you could probably charge them more because you're more specialized. Now, charging realtors to make extra $5K a month, you have to charge them less. So you want to ideally find a sweet spot, and there's a large TAM. So you want a large TAM, you want to be able to charge more. But sometimes these things are inversely correlated, right? Again, because if there's more of something, your solution might not be in big of demand, meaning you could charge less. If there's less of someone, that means you're more specialized, you could charge more. Think about it like that. If you want to try to find something that results you could drive, I showed you, there's a lot of them, and you could charge a lot for a lot of them. And then finally, ease of marketing. This is basically how easy is it for you to reach them? How to reach them. If you're working with Fortune 500 CEOs, like that's your ICP, it's going to be insanely hard to reach those people. If you're working with someone like I'm working with, which is agency owners, SaaSpreneurs, people like that, then it's probably easier to reach them through organic marketing, which is what our whole service is based around. So make sure you could reach them easily. When you reach them, you could charge them a lot. There's a lot of them to charge. And then finally, you could actually get results for them based on you're aligned with what you're solving for them. They're familiar with your service, and then you're working with someone ideally at a high level. All right, so pick your customers wisely because, again, this can be crushing you, and you don't know what you don't know. So if your customers are taking up more of your time than they're worth, it's harming your business because you can fulfill multiple people within that large amount of time that one person is taking from you. All right, so really think about, all right, how many questions is this person really asking me? Are they sort of being a little bit, not annoying, but more, they have more questions. They're being more back and forth. They're sending me emails and they're sending me texts, and like, take that into consideration because some clients will be that, and it's okay if you're beginning, but you want to cut that out as much as possible and work with people that are aligned on these things. You're solving something hard for them. They're familiar with your service. It's easy to use, and they're a high level of business, so they don't blow up your phone all the time. They just, they go through the program, they go through your services, they use it how it's supposed to be used, and that is it, right? This lowers the time involved. That means you can fulfill more people, etc. Pick your customers wisely. All right, that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is systemize delivery. So once you get a customer, what is the next steps? It's usually onboarding. What's the next steps after that? It's usually the program/service. What is the check-in mechanism? Like how often are you checking in? What is the failure mechanism, meaning if something's not going right, they're not getting results, what happens? Failure mechanism, right? If they're getting 1 out of 10 results, what happens? If they're getting 3 out of 10 results, what happens? If they're getting 8 out of 10 results, what happens? All right, what's the protocol for every single one of these things? All right, so whatever happens in systems, like or in your fulfillment, you have to have systems for every single thing. All right, onboarding in its own is a whole step. The actual product and system delivery, that's a whole step. Check-ins, that's a whole SOP and stuff like that. So once you sign a client, a lot of stuff has to happen. The more you can systemize delivery, again, it just takes down the time in which you could actually fulfill different clients for. All right, so let me just move this to the right over here. And this is huge. Again, this one is pretty big because the faster you could systemize delivery, the better. So what you want to do, this is the general workflow of what I've been able to do, is sign client. All right, and this is the first client. Let's see the first client I signed. I signed my first client on a new offer about 9 months ago, and I've been able to scale that same offer to like 25, 30K a month now. So you're going to sign a client, and for this very first client, or let's say 1 through 3 client, you're going to work with them as one-on-one as possible, and you're going to note a few things. So this is the first client. This looks a little bit confusing. First signed client, right? Work one-on-one. 2, gather feedback. 3, listen, note, questions. This one is huge. 4 is track results. 5 would be track reasons. I'll put non-results. This is like if they don't get results. Track reasons for this right here. Results, not results. All right, so if you do these few things, basically you'll be able to do a few things. One is what's working, what's not, based on these 3 things. So if you gather feedback directly from the person, and if you track results, non-results, and track the reasons for these non-results, then you could see exactly what else you need to add into your service to solve the whole gap. All right, if you listen to your questions, this will also serve as more modules and SOPs you can make, so you don't have to answer the same question a million of times. When you work one-on-one, you can really get direct exposure to this person and see what they're struggling with. All right, so when you sign your first client, you just want to be super intensely involved, and you want to be making notes on everything. They did this right. They didn't do this right. I thought I set the system up good, but they still messed it up. So I have to set it up even better. The SOP is 18 steps, but they still mess it up. Maybe it needs to be 30 steps. There's so many things you have to do to just systemize everything. Like you should really be able to take your family member that is old, that has no idea what you do, and they should be able to walk through your service and like have a good idea of what they get, where they should be, etc. Right? And you could turn all these, like once you get all this feedback, really cool thing is you could turn this into a program really, really easily. Like that's what we've been able to do. We could turn it into a program which includes resources, checklists, templates, SOPs. All right. And what this does is this increases value for customer, for C, decreases time for you. All right. So if you could get someone a better result with less time on your end, that is ideal. And this doesn't happen with the first client or the first 3. This happens with the 10th one. When you know everything, you know all the questions they're going to ask. They ask you a question like, boom, here's a research for that. They ask you how to do something, boom, here's a whole cheat sheet checklist for you. Boom, take that. So this is where you want to be at, right? And this happens over time only if you're super, super intangent in knowing of what's going on, all right? Are they getting results? Are they not getting results? What are their questions? What feedback do they have? All right, ask your clients for feedback. It's like, how confusing was the onboarding process? Oh, it was cool, but at step number 5, like I didn't know exactly what software this was. Like I didn't know how to do that. Okay, cool. Let me look into that. And just take notes hyper intensely on how to do this. All right. So systemizing delivery is huge. And this is how you systemize delivery. You get the first client, you work with them, super one-on-one. You get all the information for them, and you turn all of these things into resources, checklists, time, templates, SOPs, etc. So you can increase the value for the person. You could also increase value and speed, I should say. Value plus speed for the customer to get a result, and you decrease the time for you. All right. And again, when you do this, this all goes back to the same thing. you could fulfill more people, meaning you can make more in the same time. So same going back to the first lesson. If someone takes 15 hours to fulfill and you could pick a person that could take 5 hours to fulfill and you get the same result, you could work on 3x the more times of people, right? 15 hours for one person or 5 hours for three people, right? That means you could charge 3 times more. You get 3 times more clients, 3 times more money. Same thing here. If you could run the same person through the program, the first person takes 10 hours, but now it only takes an hour for a person to get a result from a program. You systemize it. Now you could get 10 clients in the same time it used to take for one client. All right, let me know if that doesn't compute, but the whole goal here is that it's your leverage, right? Everything is you're doing is your leverage. You're getting more output per time input, per action that you're taking. That's all we're doing here. We're doing it through a few ways, right? That's how you get from 5K to 20K a month or higher, which is what I'm working on, because the leverage changes. The leverage never goes away. The leverage just changes in the way you manipulate it, and becomes teams and becomes paid ads and becomes other stuff. But how you get from 5K to 15K, if you haven't known already, business-wise, I'm going to go into the last point, which is like personal, what I think you should be doing, is leverage. That's all you do. So here, you're leveraged by picking the right person. The second point is system delivery, which is by definition, it's literally leverage. And the third point, which is not business-oriented, which I'm going to go into now. By the way, drop a comment down below if this stuff makes sense, if you have any questions, because, again, I'm trying to give you guys everything that took me to that next level, because being at 5K a month or below that it sucks, especially when you really have a good service. You just need more people to know about it. If you want to know how to actually market your business, you could check out our website, our demo down below. Use organic content and YouTube videos just like this to sign almost a client a week at this point. Book 10 to 30 sales calls, do all that cool stuff. That's besides the point of this video. But the last thing is, my gosh, I can't move this, is schedule out your day. And this one's huge. This one is something I should have done long time ago. But basically every single day is different, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sat. All right. And yes, the week starts on Sunday because this sets up the entire week. All right. So you should be having a schedule for every single day. The way you work as a human, and from my understanding of it, is you are only as focused as the environment around you. What that means is, if you come into a super distracted environment, it's gonna be hard to work. If you go and network with these high-level people and you go to a mastermind, all you want to do is work because of your environment, right? So one way you can set your environment is literally setting up your environment to work. Like, I have 2 computers here, I have a camera, I have different stuff, I have books, whatever. I don't have my phone around me. That's one way to do it. Another way is mentally framing the day. So on Sunday, what I do is plan out the week. I'm not going to go through my whole week for you guys, but the whole thing is every single day should have somewhat a theme, all right? Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm taking sales calls and I'm talking to people. Tuesday is all content. Thursday is all content plus building. All right. When I go into Tuesday, I know all I am doing today is content. Whether it's LinkedIn, newsletter, Twitter, school, you could join our free community. There's like 800 people in there learning how to do stuff like this. We'd love for you to check it out. School, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, on that day, I am doing content. So for some reason, and a lot of us do this, it's like we do a bunch of stuff and there's a bunch of tasks. You're getting Slack notifications, you're getting emails, you're getting a bunch of stuff going on. You might have stuff outside of work that's happening, and you sort of get lost for a second. I'm like, okay, let me lock back in. What do I have to do? Oh, it's Tuesday. I'm just doing content. So let me just pick a piece of content. Let me get into it. Now, that's still pretty bad. I should have a schedule of like hour by hour what I'm doing. But at least I know I'm not working on fulfillment that day. I'm not working on cold outreach. I'm working on doing my content every single Tuesday. That's it. All right. I've also try to block off my calendar on these days again, so I could take sales calls on these days. So I know Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm making money. I'm closing deals, right? Ideally, that's what I'm doing. All right. And then Saturday, this is like chill, workout, hang out, whatever you want to do. And then Sunday, you're planning up this next week. You're going through your top goals, etc. So schedule out your day. So not only, hopefully you put yourself in a good environment of like where to work and do stuff, but you're in a mental framework of what you have to do for that day. It is so important to do that. Like, seriously, it's so important to do that, because not only could you focus on the task at hand, but you could get good at the task at hand, because all you're doing for like on Tuesday, all I'm doing for 8 hours is I'm doing content, stuff like this. Like today, I'm doing content. So that's what you have to do. and it keeps you on a schedule. It keeps you focused, it keeps you organized. The next level of this is tracking everything. So I track everything in Notion, exactly what I'm doing. If you guys want templates, you could reach out to me on Instagram, connect with me, DM me Notion or something. I might be able to get you over a template of sorts. But yeah, if you schedule out your day, and this is the thing I'm going to leave you guys with, you'll become a better entrepreneur and CEO, and you'll become a better person. I have a firm belief that anyone ahead of me, like the Hermosis, the people online, the Charlie Morgans, Iman Gods, the top guys in the space, they are not insanely better at entrepreneurship than me. Like, let's say I'm a 8 out of 10 entrepreneurship scale. I'm making up numbers here. Let's say they're a 10 out of 10 entrepreneurship, right? There's not a big discrepancy here, right? There's a 2+2 differential in how good they are at business than me. Right? We relatively all read the same books. We all know the same knowledge, essentially, right? This is business. Now, hopefully this breaks through to a lot of you because this is important. Personal, these guys up here, whether you like them or not, whether you think they're a scam or not, I don't care what you think, they are the top of the top when it comes to human beings, right? I think I'm like a 5.5, maybe 6. Let's just put 6 out of 10 on the human being scale. What this means is not being a good person or believing what you believe in. This is like your efficiency, your productivity, your focus. All right. This is a much bigger differential. This is what separates the top people from you or from me, in my opinion. This might separate me from you, whether you're doing better than me or worse than me. I am more focused or less focused, energetic, locked in on a schedule than you are, or the opposite way around. Like those guys, the Charlie Morgans, Iman Gadzis, whether they like it or not, they are more locked in than I am from a human point of view. Like I truly don't think those people know more than business than I do. To an extent, obviously they know more. I'm not saying like I'm up on that level business-wise, even though I think I am. I think they're just crushing me in the human game. They get up earlier, they work later, they get more rest, they eat better, they sleep better, they learn more, they go quicker. That's where the real gap is. And all that comes down to is you. So the more you get into it, and again, I'll leave you with this, business growth is equal to personal development. That's the whole game. The better you could be at as a person, the less emotional you could be, the more on time you could be, the more you could show up every single day without complaining, the more pain you can endure, the more you could be personally developed over time, the more money you'll make every single time. I've seen it with my own life. When I stopped complaining, when I started taking accountability, when I stopped doing stuff I'm not supposed to do, when I started locking in and building out schedules and doing the stuff I just sort of mentioned in point 3, I went up on the human point, and that made me more money. All right. So if you just focus on the personal stuff, which is scheduling out, which is getting good sleep, which is eating good, which is getting in the gym, you'll be better as a person. You will make more money as a result of that. All right. The focused person that sleeps 8 hours a day will crush the person that thinks they're grinding, sleeping 4 hours a day and doing other stuff. And I used to be in that grinding category where I wake up tired, doing half-assed work. It doesn't work. All right. Work on you as a person, your focus, your efficiency, your productivity, and then the business stuff will come, right? If you learn business and if you watch all my other YouTube videos more on business. But yeah, those are the 3 things I have for you guys. Schedule out your day, pick who you work with very, very carefully, and systemize your delivery. Those are just 3 things that came to mind. I have dozens of other lessons I could share with you guys. If you like videos like this, please, please, please leave a comment down below and talk about other stuff you want me to cover, because I'm happy to give away pretty much everything I know on growing my company and sort of documenting my journey-ish as I go along. So this has been my video. You can check out the free trainings, free school. We have a bunch of cool stuff down below. Also, I use these principles to make about $12,000 in one single day. You can check that video out right here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.